I'm John Saunders. I'm the CEO of IMI Global. I think it's been about 20 years that Jerry has been inviting myself or my wife to come out here and talk and give a little introduction, a little information about what it is that we do. And it's interesting, in all those 20 years that I've known Jerry, all I ever hear about is his bull sales. And when he has those sales, that darn near everybody in Minnesota shows up for him. And maybe they'll even buy a bull if they're there, right? Well, that's not true. Because it looks like, by the looks of this room, we got South Dakota, North Dakota, Wisconsin, Minnesota, probably Nebraska in here too somewhere, right? So congratulations, Jerry. This is great. You guys probably all know a little bit more about my wife than you do me. She's quite a speaker. Anybody here that's seen Leanne talk? Well, take my word for it, she's much better. And as hard as it was to convince her, first of all, to be my wife, and then secondly, to actually come and work with me in the company, probably something that you guys can relate to is it took me about 12 years to figure out how to convince her father who ranches in New Mexico that what I did actually had some value. And I'd say it's probably been 3 or 4 years ago that we finally crossed that bridge. And from my perspective and where we are as a company and what we're trying to do, that's exactly it. Is to add value, give a return on investment. I believe the most profitable activities that you can have in the beef industry are the things that are associated with verification. Because 9 times out of 10, all you're documenting is one, things that you're already doing or things that you're not doing. So that's what verification basically boils down to at its core. And I think from a practical perspective, when I look at Brad and Kent, in many ways what my company does is help verify the middle ground between the two. So as Kent's out selling product, which I will tell you that I've never met anybody in the industry that does it as well as he does, and is as strategic as he is in the way that they develop that as a company. But to be able to take those consumer signals that he's seeing and seeing those requirements that the retailers are asking for, translate those back through Brad and the people that are supplying the products, and then come in as a valid third party that says, this is exactly what's occurring. So I thought maybe real quick what I would do is just go through a real quick background, and I know a lot of this may seem redundant, I don't want to bore you guys, but I think it's kind of important because it's good when I'm telling my dad exactly how the business is going and it's growing and we're getting better, so it's not something that's going to go away. So in 1995, so 16 years ago, we founded the company, and you'll see that not much happened until 2003, and that wasn't really an accident. That was because there wasn't a lot going on in the industry from a verification, traceability perspective that was actually adding value back to producers. So in 2003, we were one of the first process verified programs. So I'm sure you guys have become familiar with PVPs and these new things called QSAs as well. Those programs were basically in existence prior to the discovery of mad cow in the United States. With that discovery, there was a gap between what we were able to provide as an industry to our export partners and what they were looking for in their domestic programs. The PVPs and the QSA models that were just in their infancy at that point were the model that was selected. So things really started to pick up there. So all of the PVPs and the QSA that are in existence today were in one way or another connected back to what happened with Japan and our renegotiating entry into that market. 2005, we developed an off-site method that made it easier for producers in remote locations to get approved. That was also on just a source and age process. 2006, we had the first non-hormone treated program for Europe. So that was really where the NHTC program started to develop. First couple years, there wasn't a lot of demand. It's pretty slow. 2008, we had a bad year, but we're starting to see some real growth, and that's coming back well. 2008, the USDA's Never Ever 3 program, Verified Natural. Developed our program built around those standards, and I'm sure some of you are starting to get some familiarity with those programs as well. 2009, we had a sustainable program called Verified Green and humane handling programs, both of which were approved through the USDA. And most recently, as Ken started to talk about, we were approved for the Global Animal Partnership Program as an auditing body. So what are the trends in verification? What's going on? What's leading to all this? First and foremost, international trade. And we've seen it, we see it literally every day. We've seen a lot the past couple weeks around Taiwan. Those continue to be big drivers that are adding value back to producers of beef cattle in the United States. Then you've got USDA programs, the Never Ever 3 program, Verified Natural, grass-fed. We have any grass-fed producers in here today? I think so. Organic? Those are also programs offered through the USDA, typically on a domestic level, but also for an international trade business. Some of the new consumer trends that we're seeing, and I think Kent did a good job talking about, first of all, is animal welfare. As I've looked at traceability here for the past 15 years and thought about the consumer issues and what was going on in the world that was going to really impact traceability and drive value for producers, the last thing that I would have thought would have done that would have been animal welfare. But animal welfare, I believe, is here to stay. And it's something that we all as an industry need to really take a hard look at and see how we're going to adapt to. Sustainability. This is something that we see every week. Last week it was McDonald's, Walmart, World Wildlife Fund. They're all looking at this. I don't think anybody really knows what it's going to translate into, at least at the production level, but I can guarantee that they're coming. I think where we've really tried to distinguish ourselves as a business and what we've been holding as a big priority was the authenticity and the integrity in what we do. And being an accredited third party is something that as consumers start and continue to question more about the food that they're eating and the people that are producing that food, they're going to want to have the assurance that somebody that's not affiliated with the production of that product that's verified. And this is not just because I'm sitting up here with these two, nor because we've developed a very strong relationship with Tyson and their fresh meats program. But Tyson, beyond any other programs that we've been affiliated with, has really made a strong effort, a consistent effort, to truly verify the practices that are going on in the production of those cattle that are coming through their systems. And Brad, I'll just say it. I mean, it's been an honor to work with you, and it's been an honor to see the way that you develop relationships and develop programs. And he's going to get mad at me later because this is the last thing he wants me to do. But Brad, it's an honor. And that all comes back to the Ronald Reagan quote of "Trust but verify," and that's really the central core component of everything that we do, is that we're going to trust that things are occurring the way that they're supposed to, the way it's being determined, but you still have to verify it. And we believe that consumers, the further and further they get, and the more that they evolve and become educated, they're going to want to know more about where their food comes from. And I think that's a great story, just looking at you all here today and getting to know those people. So this is one I'm sure you guys have seen, but we like to put it in a pretty straightforward slide that really, I think, indicates a lot of what I know Jerry's done, and I think it's been the key component of what we've done in our work with Tyson, and that is that as you build your animal, you're building a product with more and more value. And we all know the preconditioning programs that are out there. We all know about keeping data. We all know about certain management practices. But as you get further and further over to the right, and I guess, Brad, I'll just ask you, if you've got an animal on the left-hand side or on the right-hand side, which one is going to add more value to you?
Self-explanatory.
Self-explanatory. So the more options you've got, the more value you've got. And a lot of the things, and again, I think my big, obviously I'm biased on verification, But I truly believe in working with my father-in-law, working with the ranches that we work with, that there's nothing that you can do in this industry that will add value back the way verification will today. And 9 times out of 10, you're verifying things that you're already doing or not doing. So it's not typically extra work, it's not typically extra product, it's not added cost. It's a headache. Right, Travis? You guys all know Travis? It's a headache. There's a lot of headaches associated with it. But a little time, you get it organized, the return on investment that you guys are going to realize is going to be unbelievable. I like to put this one up because I think, especially people in my line of work and looking at things the way that we do, think that the world is an entirely different world than it was 20, 25 years ago. And in reality, that's not the case, because in 1984, what consumers wanted from beef was taste, convenience, nutrition, variety, and price. They still want that. That hasn't changed. They want more. And they want a third party that's telling them that what you're saying is true. So all of those factors you still have to do to have a successful beef program. But they're wanting to know more about the environment, the welfare of the animals, and sustainability. So it's a new game. It's a new industry that we're in entirely. Rancher of the future. So this is a slide that we like to talk about and say, what is the rancher of the future going to look like? And it probably would have worked 20, 30 years ago the same way. That there's some trends and things that we think are critically important to what are going to determine your profitability for the next 5 to 10 years. First and foremost, staying informed. We've got access to information literally every second. Now that can be a little bit too much and it can be overwhelming, but it's not too hard to pick through and see what international issues are going on that we need to be on top of. So as a rancher, it's critically important to stay on top of those trends, not fads, but trends. You got to understand your cost of production. Critical. You got to look at genetics. Jerry had me put this one in. So, genetics are critical. Are you a good environmentalist? I think that's a catchword, that's a dangerous word. And the instant response, or the typical response I get is that ranchers and farmers were the first environmentalists, we're the first conservationists. And I think that's true, but we need to continue to promote that and continue to be willing to verify and to make claims and stand behind those claims about what we're actually doing. Animal care. I can't see animal care. It's kind of one of those catch-22s that animal welfare, unfortunately, or with the dynamics of where we are, I don't believe that that's going away. And I think it's something that we really need to look at because, as we all know, 99% of the industry is doing everything that they should and above. So it's unfortunate that we're at a point that the 99% has to verify that they are engaged in those practices, but I think that's kind of where we're at today. Production practices, documentation, documentation, documentation. Everything that you do, document. Anything that we're coming in and talking about, anything that Travis is going to come to your location and talk about, he's going to look at records, he's going to look at documentation. He's going to want to have proof that those activities are actually occurring. Got to manage risk. Got record prices on cattle, record prices on corn. That's all volatility. That's all got to be managed through risk. I think this final one again is focused on our program called Where Food Comes From, and that is that you guys are all here. You're all proud of what you do. That message and that communication is something that we all need to take part in and tell the positive story of the industry, which is a positive story. It's a great story. Where Food Comes From is our consumer program that I paid Kent quite a bit to get him to say it twice here tonight, which he did. I thought he was going to say it 3 times, so I'll have to get that one later in the questions. But Where Food Comes From is our consumer labeling program. Tyson is a great partner for us with that program. We're very excited about it, and that's communicating that positive message of what you all do. Thank you very much.